Welcome to this new episode of my YouTube tutorial on how to create a classic Metroidvania game in Unity. In the last episode we added this skeleton who can attack us. What we want to add in this episode today is a game over screen. So in the case that the skeleton defeats us, just like now, a game over screen will appear. You can see that at the moment we can still run around, which is not intended for the final game. So let's jump into the game scene and we go to our canvas. The render mode of the canvas is set to screen space camera. We will add an UI image to this canvas. We will set the color black. Then we will increase the size of that image so the full game camera is covered with the black image, and we will set the transparency to 0. Then we will add on top of that background image, which we call, let's rename these image to game over background, and then let's top on this image text. We will use a legacy text and we call this text game over text. We are just very creative here. We write in the text game over. We will increase the size of that text field. We will increase the font size as well. We will adjust the alignment. We will set the color to white, of course, and then we will set the font style to bold. We can still increase the size a little bit. We adjust the position a little bit upwards, and then as well for the final touch we set the transparency to 0 here as well. The next step is to jump into our player script. Here we will add a using Unity engine.ui, and alongside that we will add a new header to our inspector for the script in the game scene. We will call that header game over, and below this game over header we will add 2 serialized fields for 2 game objects. First the game over background and next the game over text. You can see that within the herd void function we ask for the amount of lives, and if the actual lives here become 0 after the last herd, we will set the boolean variable to true. So let's use this variable. We will just call a new function called void update. Here we ask for if that. If this is the case, we will set the game over background to active and the game over text to true. Don't forget to set both on false at the start here. We set both of them to false since we don't want to interact with them until we die. Let's also add a float called transparency and set them to 0, and later we know that we dying, we can steadily increase it to this by a small proportion. Then we will create 2 new colors. The first one will be a black color, so the first 3 digits will be a 0, and then the 4th digit will be our transparency value. Around that transparency value we should add an if statement asking for if transparency is below 1. And in that case, we only increase transparency, and else we can set the transparency to 1. Just in case. So we have now new colors, which will decrease the transparency over time when we add this. And since I just thought about it, since we want to have a steady increase, we will add this in fixed update, since update can vary depending on your frames per second. So let's add this in the fixed update, so the time we need to decrease the transparency is on every computer and under every condition the same. Then first we will get the component image of our game over background, and we will adjust the black color and we will adjust the white color to our game over text to the component text. And this is one of the first steps, and we will test the game. Don't forget to go to our player, and then in the inspector go to our player script, and at the end you can see the new caption game over, and we will add the game over background as well as the game over text. Now as we fight with the skeleton, one more hit, and we see, oh, something didn't work quite well. And I think I knew what. I think we just need to change this. So instead of 1 minus transparency, we just set transparency as the fourth digit within our new color. Adjust this, go into the game scene, and let's play the game. Here another time, the skeleton will fight us. Yeah, and something is still off. We need to increase here the size of the image. You can just largely increase the size of the image, just in case. I think this will be enough. Now, this is of course not enough. We still need some buttons, and we just add a button for returning to the level and return to the game menu. The button returning to the game menu will not be functional in this episode, since we first need to add a game menu, but we can already code the function for the return to the level button. But let's first add two buttons under UI, legacy, and then button, and return level. Here we will go into the text. We write return to the level. So for the buttons, I added two new UI elements. So let's go into our sprites folder and then under UI elements, and then you can drag and drop the new buttons in that folder. In the video description, you find the link to the itch.io website, where you can download all game assets that I created for this game, as well as those two button UI elements. We will adjust the buttons UI element, and in the sprite editor, you should go into the sprite editor and then shift those green lines to only include the inner space of the button, so we can draw a certain border. Hit apply. Do this as well for this one. Hit apply. It's important that you change the filter mode of the button UI elements to point no filter. Do this for both of them. then you still can go to the image element, and you should change the image type to tiled. You can set the pixels per unit multiplier to 0.5, and then we should still increase the size of our buttons like this, and then go to your text. You can change the font style to bold, and I will change the color to white. You can duplicate those buttons. Call the second button return menu. The second button we will write return to game menu. And then you go to the normal color to set it to transparent, as well the text color. Now, of course, you need to go to the player script, and under game over we add 4 new game objects. First, the game over button 1, the game over button text, button 1 text, and then we do this as well for 2. This we go to the fixed update, and then into the section where we asked if the player is dead, and then following other statements we will adjust the colors in the same manner. When you saved your changes now in the script, don't forget to go to the player and look in the inspector and set the right elements in the inspector. And now you can test the made changes. And you can see we have a little mistake here. The mistake was that I changed the normal color to transparent. We need to change the image color to transparent. This is one key difference for the buttons. So here we can set this to transparent and set this to intransparent. And now let's check. Here I made change, but it was correctly this way. Let's save this change. Yeah, I think I need to set the color of the image here to white. What's this mistake is? Now the buttons work as intended. Very well. So now the last point for today is to add a function to the reload button, so we can restart our level again. For that we go into our scripts folder, we go into UI element, and then we create a script and call that reload button. We open that script, and now we will add another function in here. We will call this new public void function new scene, and in this function we will call the scene manager load scene name. We also know the Unity engine scene management, and we should declare a serialized field with a string variable called scene name. Of course we need to call the same variable name in load scene. We will save this. Now let's go to the return level button. We add the component we just created, the reload button script. Then we will call right in the reload button script the scene name reload level 1 test 2. Alright, then we will go again. On the component button, we have the function on click. We didn't added any functions now. We will add now from the return level button, from the reload button script, we will call the function we wrote ourselves, new scene. Next, for the scene manager to work, we go on File, then we go on Build Settings, and we will add our open scene, Level 1 Test 2. Now we can try that out. And we can see we now have the buttons. I will click on the Return to the Level button. And you can see it works. We return to the level and restart it. So, thank you so much for watching today's episode on how to create a game over screen in a classic Metroidvania game in Unity. I hope you like my tutorials. If that's the case, subscribe to the channel and hit a like to the video button. I hope you learn a lot about creating Metroidvania games in Unity here. I will recreate some older episodes since I learned a lot about creating tutorials for YouTube, and soon I will also start new videos, so stay tuned and I hope we will see again.